Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. Happy Monday morning, TGIM. Let's just see if this YouTube page is going to kick in here and let us be awesome for you. Where are you, YouTube? There you are. Yay. All right, cool. So that's working. Kevin totally kicking ass on the back end. He's kicking my ass on the back end. Something like that. And had a fun daily brief today. Did about an hour long rant about what I'm seeing in the market. Kind of a dovetail to the broiler chickens show that we did yesterday. Actually, I walked through a bunch of different stuff. Whether it be looking at the broader market and looking at breadth and understanding. Ironically enough, we're actually fast is getting down to 20. So, we might actually find that there's a scenario where the correction just goes kind of sideways. I think even yesterday, and I mentioned it again here in the daily brief here this morning, there was a news article that I thought just perfectly typified the market here. Expect violently flat markets. And actually, I kind of like that thinking. We're getting some internal anecdotal evidence that the juniors market is still very, very strong. And we sort of walk through the economics of it. I'd actually make the argument that if you had some capital and you were thinking about starting a business, now is actually the perfect time. Bankers have been basically told, go out and lend money to these people. I mean, there's a lot of times, they make the argument in the Great Depression, one of the reasons why it just kept going on and on and on and on, is the banks wouldn't loan any money out to anybody, and they kept interest rates very high. And a lot of the tinfoil hat people sort of blame the bankers for the length of the Great Depression. That's another conversation for another day. But if you had some collateral, whatever the bank collateral requirement is, 20% down, whatever. Now is actually a fantastic time to go out and start a new business if you have a product that's in demand and you've built a better mousetrap. And ironically enough, your competition is actually probably going to be pretty weak right now because they don't have the capital to satisfy the banks to take out the loans. So with that said, and interestingly enough, when we walk through our little venture cap idea, and I even told you guys about it yesterday, and I went and bought some of the stock because I really like the name. It was really, we walked through the way they restructured the company, the way that they set up the financing, the change of ownership. And then, everything was in place, and the company was doing its thing, and they were proving up reserves and resources. And then COVID came along, and the stock sinks to new lows. But the irony of it all is that their project is actually out in the middle of the Mojave Desert. There's nobody around them. All they're doing is they're just going into the field and just proving that the gold actually is still there in the ground. And it's an old gold mine that they bought. So, they always say, what's the best way to find a new gold mine? Is to go look beside an old gold mine. So, in a weird sort of way, I think COVID here is actually opening doors of opportunity for us bargain hunters, cheap asses who don't like to spend a lot of money. And, of course, we want to make a quick capital gain. So, fascinating market state that we're in. And, I would make the argument, I don't know what particular asset you're interested in. Remember, a lot of the times when I'm buying companies, I'm actually buying the structure, amount of shares out, amount of debt out, who owns the debt, where are insiders incentivized, where are they long stock, that kind of stuff. And And it's just an interesting coincidence that the business that this well-structured company happens to be in is going out and exploring for gold. Why? Well, it turns out gold market's kind of hot these days. So, ironically enough, by following my very strict structure model, I'm actually going and investing in the gold business. Oops. And of course, as soon as the stock price doubles, I sell half, and really the shares just go on the pile, and I forget about them, and then I'll sell another half down the road. In fact, actually, we had an example of this here today, where these electric vehicle proxies are all just going haywire here. And this is a great example where I actually went in and bought these are warrants. And of course, us at TRI, we love trading warrants. But I bought my warrants here, and I got my double off here. Remember, they're expire 2023. That's still in like 3 years. And I've done nothing on these things since. It's just a free position. And lo and behold, here we go. My next double level, because I got some off at $1.20. I just totally killed this thing. Bought in like the 30s, sold half at like a triple, which was a really nice treat. And my next sell order sitting up here at about 2.5. So, the point being that what I do is I just run my business of trading, and I don't, these guys, obviously it's not a bad place to be in the market these days. You just never know what the reason these things are going to rally. In fact, actually, there was one that I was looking at forever. It was called Urban One, I think it was. And, we looked at the stock, and the stock was structured correctly down here. Everything that we do at TRI, buy bottoms and the ranges, W's on, share structures correct, blah, blah, blah. But I looked at the business, and I'm like, well, geez whiz, do I really want to get into a black-oriented media outlet? How do you think a black-oriented media proxy has done in this world? You never know when the hell these goddamn things are going to go. You just don't know. But hunt good structure, location, all that kind of talk, and away you go. Boom! And what I've noticed here, is... the bigger indexes are looking heavy, and they're kind of like, they could really use some cleanup here, and the breadth is... And yet these little stocks, they are just very, very strong. There's a lot of green on this screen here. I'm actually quite surprised at the amount of green. And pretty good-looking moves, too, like this XGBX, which I'll talk to you in a bit. I mean... You should look at that chart and go, I see exactly why that Beamish guy is long this idea. And I had to have the balls and come in and just buy the W level here. I sit on it for a few days, but look at what the hell's happening here today. I don't know why this is happening, but I just go in there and buy my W's at bottom ends of ranges below reload zone and let the market take care of the rest. Crazy world. So, this one, I had balls of steel to step in, but it was everything about what I do. Hopefully you all see the W. You all see that, gee whiz, just a 50% retracement of the past year or two takes us back to $12. You can see the gaps. So, when this stock did this reload zone pullback and came down and filled in the gaps and just basically parked itself right against the original structure, I had to buy. And it was difficult, I'll tell you. It wasn't easy. But I'm feeling pretty good here today. So, obviously, that was a half-decent trade. But I'll tell you, it's damn difficult to step into the breach here and pull the trigger out when they do these sometimes with these. But, like I said, we're seeing lots of up here. So, very fascinating market state. Fascinating. All right, now let's, I suppose, go back to what I'm supposed to be talking to you guys about here. Our little chart deck sure is messy, but really, the message I think, generally speaking, I send you, I think is actually pretty good. I'd subscribe to this guy's newsletter, I'll tell you that much. Okay, so risk on, risk off, hegemony, probably good idea to check in with US dollar index if we're going to start our day. And interesting, today we actually have pretty wild action. We started out the day, whole stock market sort of jumped up. And this thing tanked. And that's what's supposed to happen when risk on comes back on. But as you can see, we've actually carved out what appears to be very hammerish type action here. I was looking for some sort of big apex pivot event. Man, that would be appropriate if we just dumped right into that. Obviously, this is totally just, Brian's conjecturing. We'll see how this looks like. Only time will tell. I still think that there was an incredible trap that was laid for Euro bulls and US dollar bears down here. The trap sprung. They shut the trap. And all those people that shorted down here and bought euros up top, they're still trapped. You can see, bring the market down into the trap level and just, I'm short, okay, now just cover, and boom, back up she goes. I suppose probably if we looked at euro in particular, we'd probably get a little better indication of direction here over the short term. But to be honest with you, I'm actually a little surprised to see as much strength here in the US dollar index. I was expecting us to hit some sort of soft point here, but, market will do whatever the hell it wants to do. Do I have a trade here? No. If anything, what this tells me is this is actually pretty good analogy of that violently flat market state, where I wouldn't be surprised if our next month or two looks something along these lines. Just incredibly volatile, but really, at the end of this, we probably haven't gone anywhere, in the broader market context. Big, of course, celestial event window that I've been sort of squawking about for quite a while now, coming up here end of the month. Maybe this thing panic peaks into that. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. If anything, if this does start ratcheting higher here, that's not a good sign for the stock market and for risk assets in particular. So, the jury's still out. We'll keep, obviously, a close eye on how she's acting. That kind of conversation about bottom end of the range, risk felt like, heading into the weekend, they usually dump risk, because there's so much uncertainty with the market closed for Saturday, Sunday. And we noticed, like on the corn, Saturday they did dump her, but then Sunday they brought it right back, almost like a non-event. Mr. Wonderful down in the States put out some pretty controversial tweets, but then quickly took them back. And then we didn't really see any further social unrest. And, the market, I think, now is very much focused in on how bad the situation gets down in the southern U.S. with regard to this sickness. So, with that said, it kind of felt like they were throwing the baby out with the bathwater heading into the end of the week last week, with stocks basically finishing on their knees. They had like a 2 or 3 day where they lost like about 1,500 points on the Dow or so. So, ironically enough, traders, you're just going to look at this and you're going to say, well, we're coming into the bottom end of the range. So the dumps into here, you guys hear me talk about candle body levels for trade location. I mean, holy crap, that's ridiculous. So not a big surprise we have, counter trend rallies here. And again, that comment about violently flat markets, really, I'd make the argument here, top of the end of the range, bottom end of the range right now. This is literally about a 10% window where you could literally see the stock market up 5%, down 7%, up 3%, down 4%, just totally within this range. And what concerns me here about the bear case is, as I had sort of pointed out to begin our conversation today, is the breadth indicator is already painting fast oversold conditions. So you can't make the argument that the market is ripe to dump. If anything, the market is ripe to actually see some sort of short-term bounce here. And, as I said, this breadth indicator and seeing the way all the small stocks are perking up here, this probably is going to start ticking back up here. And then, of course, if we get a fast cross of the slow, well, actually, we have to start thinking back up again. So, party. Never a dull moment, that's for sure. So violently flat market. I think that's absolute perfect description of this market state right now. Last week we talked a little bit about how they left a gap open on the oil charts and how reload zones happen to line up with those gaps. So not a big surprise to see, substantial counter trend rally. Here is our reload zone. There is that gap. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. Actually, candle bodies. I love that level up there. Trapped bulls. They'd like to get out of those positions. So, probably look, Tuesday, Wednesday, London kill zone. Probably watch for the oil inventory numbers on Wednesday to really see whether this thing is actually a bull. And then what sort of really sucks about this is it's really nice when we can go through prolonged periods without Russia being dragged through the mud and accusations of sort of harkening back to Cold War nonsense. I'm hearing lately that the Russians now are actually paying people in Afghanistan and Pakistan to murder Americans. Oh, Jesus, here we go. So, I don't know why this world has to be like this, but, if that starts building up traction again, then sort of that happy-go-lucky, we all working together kind of, that stuff starts, ends. Oh, Jesus. So, and of course, Russia's a big player in the oil business. So we'll see how this goes. Is there some sort of back office sort of deals going on? I don't know. I think I've said, repeatedly, I don't even want to be invested in oil. It's an old story. There's way better, more funner ways for me to play the market. But, if you're an oil bull, there it is. There wouldn't be anything for me to do here. Probably get a really, really big sell signal and just get the hell out if we actually carve out some honking big head and shoulders and there's like a failure through here. So like I said, through Tuesday, Wednesday, London kill zone, you might actually get a half decent little short window. But as it stands right now, I'd be looking at this going, well, that gap's got to be filled in. So that's probably where she's going in the short term. And that's sort of like, helping the risk on kind of conversation. Fascinating to watch the gold. Gold's sort of like schizophrenic. It's kind of caught between, do I want to move with the stock market and the inflation, or do I want to be a fear proxy? And if that's the case, then am I going to see a bunch of selling because people have margin calls and indexes are collapsing and gold stocks are in indexes, blah, 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 blah. Ironically enough, I'm actually getting longer of the gold sector simply by following my VCIM model, which I find quite amusing. So my VCIM model tells me to go buy good structured companies. And it turns out my VCIM model got me to go buy some of this Goliath resources in the gold business. This MT, which I told you about yesterday, it's certainly not a buy. I think it's down in sort of value areas in the gold business. Juggernaut Resources bought this maybe about 6-8 months ago. So if anything, he's ready to do something if he ever gets his act together in the gold business. And then this Tello, who's actually pretty much almost at approaching double levels. But they're in the pharma business, so not metals. But I find it fascinating that 3 recent VCIM purchases are all in that gold space. So go figure. I'm getting longer golder through venture capitaler. How ironic. Did tell you guys in the public that I was going to use Newmont as sort of my proxy if this gold market's for real. So the question ultimately was, well, are we going to get any kind of bot resolution here? Don't really want to throw a ton of money at this, but I did get, this is actually like what they call a cup and handle. So you can go boom to boom to boom. Actually, sorry, to there. So there's your cup. It's a bit lopsided. And here is your handle. Boom to boom to boom. We did get a perk up to the little cup and handle level on Friday. So I decided, what the hell, I'll go grab a couple calls. I think I spent like $300 or something. I told the public I'll trade this bot. We'll see how this goes. Trade is trade is trade. So I'll risk to a break of this 52.32. I bought some September calls, so I got about 3 months. Basically, this is a summer trade. If it works through the summer, great. If we crap out through the bottom, I'll just liquidate. It'll probably take like a 50% loss on the options. And if it does, and all you gold bugs are all vindicated, and gold is the shit, and you're all gonna make a fortune, woohoo! And we go up and hit trendline resistance, which really wouldn't be too surprising. This silly option's going to be worth $1,800. And actually, I got 2 of them, so it's not a bad risk to take. So I have officially joined the gold bugs. Oh my God, what have I done? You're crazy. But waited for the consolidation. Told you I was going to take trade. Took trade. Merry Christmas. We'll see what happens. I suppose the good part about it is I could just go sell my SG blocks here now, and that's more than made up for the cost of the trade. I'm being facetious. I don't mind being in that gold trade, but if it sits there and flounders for a bit, it wouldn't surprise me. Let's see. One name actually was in our TRI SOF club, and I'm just sort of blabbing here today. I hope you guys are enjoying this. But one name in our TRI SOF club that came out recently, and actually it's kind of a special treat for you. Showed you guys key reversals recently on other stocks. Here's a good example of a key reversal that's trying to happen today. So, long and short of it here is that if this key reversal signal does fire, we'll see how it closes on the end of the day, and we get a trade up through the high tomorrow, 213. That becomes a huge buy signal. And for whatever it's worth, I've already actually picked up some calls. And why? Well, this is just a really simple TRI secret options formula trade. If the market does get back to my level, we'll make some pretty damn good money. So, like I said before, stock market, if you look at the indexes, you'd be kind of like, well, gee whiz, this looks like a shitty stock market. But you look at the internals, and there's a lot of uppy here. So, hey, what the hell, make hay while the sun's shining, as they say. Sort of continuing on your theme here. Russell 2000 study, gee whiz, look what she did. She broke out through the top. Small cap still pretty sexy, so looking good. There's my SG blocks. Woohoo! Double bottoms within double bottoms. Hey, it'll be $10 before I'm done the video here today. I think it just jumped to like 10 cents, didn't it, while we were talking here? That's pretty nice. So there you go. And heading over to crypto. Very much like the stock market, if we're dead cat bouncing, if risk awning is awning, let's get rid of this crap. Then I don't think it should surprise anybody to see crypto catch a bid here. So both of these risk-on proxies are moving up. Risk offers are actually looking a little heavy here, to be honest with you. Russell 2000 just going nuts. Small cap stocks just going fucking ballistic here. Should it surprise us to see crypto catch a bid? I don't think so. And like the little junior crypto names, here's this one that I told you about a week or two ago. I mean, it just backed up into a perfect reload zone, and now it's starting to work its way back up. So the individual names, hunt your ideas. I went through, just a quick list of some of my Trex pieces of shit. But man, there are just some great looking names here. But, it's a trader's life. You don't know what the hell's going to happen. And just telling people here in the lounge, what the hell is this? EDG. W's are W's are W's. I don't know what the hell's going to happen here. I thought it was interesting. Digi didn't blink an inch there through that whole crypto nonsense over the past week or so. That to me looks like a bullish chart, folks. They're just names after names. This one I wouldn't chase, but no reason why I can't work some stink bids down against all these W's. I gotta say, there's a lot of good-looking little names. Look at this little one. I mean, some serious volume came in there the other day on just the cutest little double bottom right in the reload zone. So, it's just like the junior stock market. This one, Grin, I remember this one was pretty popular a few years ago. I mean, it's just come down. Absolute train wreck. Big pump. Right back down into reload zones. And she's just parked here. Is there money to be made on these? Well, I don't know. You tell me. I mean, this is zoomed out on that thing. You can't even see the price action down here. So, I mean, just build your plan, people, and get in there and try not to have an opinion. I mean, the irony of it all is you turn on the radio or turn on the TV and they're like, oh, sky's falling. It's the end of the world. Well, I don't know. I don't see that. What I do see, and I've sort of talked at length of course, the community here, downtrend lines working. And I think the trap, and this happens a lot, is people are going to think that the break of the trend line here is the buy signal, but that's dangerous. So really what we have to see is we actually have to see a W on the other side of the trend line for us to get bullish. So I could very easily see, and as you can see on the chart here, there are reload zones just off of this recent rally. This is 38.2. I think I talked to you guys yesterday about the resolution of this range. This here is a 3-bar fractal, so that means you'll get a buy signal and a break above this high here, which is 91.72. And that push, if that does come in, it's big if, obviously. If we do accept above 38.2, so I don't see any reason why we can't rally right back up into this sort of mid-9,000 area. I won't be doing anything on the corn myself there. But Ethereum, for example, basically I'm looking for this counter trend rally back up top to see if I can add to my short position here. This is the one that we just recently strapped on. So that's sort of how I'm looking at the market too, right? Remember that, and it's the exact same thing in crypto as it is in the broader stock market. Big indexes, violently flat. I think that's an absolutely perfect way to describe this. Find your individual stories, whether it be that Sky or whether it be, the SG blocks or whether it be your resolution forest products or whether it be ZVO carving out a cup and handle or whether it be blank charging, whatever. Find your individual stories. What are the fundamental drivers? And then trade your setups. Put the opinions away. Frankly speaking, I don't think opinions mean jack shit in this world. Violently flat. Get out there and have some fun. I think I'll leave the video at that. All the best. And the only thing for Brian to say at this point is a big bye.